Oh.
Oh gosh. Hi guys. So sorry. I joined a very different link and I was projecting a very different link. Hi everyone. How are we doing today? Great. Koi, how are you? How's your day? How did your day go? Let me call this
Oh, my
lady.
day went well. Thank you for asking, Titi. It's going on well so far.
Okay. Hi, Dennis. How you doing today?
Hi, Titi, I'm good.
This is
How
your
are you?
first time? I'm very well.
What did you say?
This is your first time getting our sessions.
Yes, yes, this is my first time.
The name stood out. How did your day go?
Yeah, it was good. Just came back from work.
Oh, I see. Where are you? Nigeria, Ghana?
Lagos. I was at
Oh,
the Techsales conference last month.
nice,
Yeah,
nice. Hi,
yeah.
Ayo. How you doing? How did your day go? Hello, Ayo, are you there? Okay, while Ayo is chilling and still settling in. Hi, Gloria. How you doing today?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. How did your day go?
You know, same. Not bad at all. Thank you for asking. How are you too?
Fine, fine. Very well. Just rushed in from work.
Uh,
Just so that
I mean, luckily I got to work from home today, so I didn't have to do any rushing.
Gloria 1950. Hi, Mujiba. How you doing today?
Hi, good evening. I'm very
Hi,
well.
how did your day go?
Yeah, it was fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm, work from home, work from outside, work from the office, which of the above?
Oh yeah, yeah. I work from home today actually,
I
so I'm chilling.
how on 9 to 5 0. I can't be the only person who went to work today. I'm guessing Dara will back me up here. Hi Dara, how you doing? How did your day go? Mm. Okay, so Erica will be joining us in a minute. However, she's trying to sort out, a couple technology-ish at her end. She'll be joining us in a bit, and then we'll kick off. But pending that time, if you know anybody that should be here that is not here already, you should nudge them right away. So put this up on your status. The flyer is in the community. Put it up. Nudge your friends. Nudge your work colleagues. If you're attending TSP sessions and you're not a part of, you're not telling people of all of the fantastic things you're learning in these sessions, then you're a very selfish, unpermitted colleague, right? So not your friends, not your colleagues, not community members that you know that should be here while we're settling in for Erica to join in. Okay. Hi Elizabeth, how you doing today?
Hi, good evening. I'm fine.
How did your day go?
Was okay. Was okay. Quite interesting as well.
Work from home or work from the office? Let me know if I'm alone.
Yeah, I worked from home today.
Wow, I think I need to reconsider my career choices. Because it feels like I'm the only person who, maybe aside Dennis and I, who worked from the office today. Wow, wow. Okay. Hoping the next person would restore some balance. All right, now let's settle in while we wait for Erica to join in. And like I mentioned earlier, if you know more people who should be here that are not here, please nudge them. Koye, okay. That's a very good shot. That's a very good shot. That's a very good shot. Well done. Well, I was minding my business. I'm going about my business when it came on my table. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So not your friends that should be here. Let's get settled while we are with Erica. She'll be here shortly. Okay, so while we wait, for people who are joining our sessions for the first time, Dennis, Gloria, is it your first session or are you a regular?
It's actually my first session. I'm looking forward to
Ooh,
it. Yeah.
this is giving that church first time as stand up. Let us welcome to the session. Nice, nice. What are you looking forward to in this session?
To be honest, I'm very open. I just really want to come learn more about scaling partnerships. I like the team really. Storytelling for scaling partnerships and expansion. I want to learn how storytelling can actually help scaling partnerships, because I'm a BDM and partnerships manager in my firm. And so I'm really excited to learn from everyone, from the host, the guest speakers, and community members. So yeah, looking
That's
forward to
amazing.
it.
Let's give it up. Let's give it up. Let's welcome. Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you,
But yeah,
Talia.
those gone as well.
Please take that again.
Well, yeah, Techsales come as Techsales code as well.
No. This is
Oh,
my first ever tech sales and partnership community program. I think I stumbled on it on LinkedIn, and then I followed your Instagram page, and then I landed here.
nice, nice. Are you in the Slack community already?
So except if there's like a WhatsApp, or I'm not in any community exactly. I'm not sure where the community is, but I'm following on LinkedIn. And
Oh, I see.
I follow you guys on LinkedIn and on Instagram as well.
I'm going to drop the link in a bit. And Erica's trying to join. Yes,
Okay.
she's going to drop it in a bit so that you can join in. We do a lot of cool stuff there.
Okay,
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. That this is like just one out of it.
that would be great.
Also, Dennis. Hi, Dennis. How you doing today? What are you looking forward to in this session? This is Dennis's first session as well. Like we have so many new timers, the first
Yeah,
timers.
Hi, Dennis, co-first timer. Hello.
yeah, hi. So to me, I think it was just the team that caught my attention, to be fair. And I've actually put it on my calendar since last week because I'm really just open to learning new things about the whole tech sales space. Yeah, that's literally why I'm here.
Nice, nice. Are you in the Slack community as well?
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So in a couple of seconds now, Erica should join in. But then meanwhile, let me drop the link to the Slack channel so that Gloria can join in. So we have these monthly sessions that go on. This is the mentoring session segment. And what we do here is we focus on mid to senior level topics, things that you would be looking forward to learning, as a mid-level, like a senior person. Okay. Then we have the info session. We focus on the enthusiasts, right? And then we have a lot, of other sessions as well. We have one that Koye here also handles for us. Beyond the sessions, we usually have like interesting activities. For example, we have like a major thing coming up soon. That's the workshop. We haven't announced it, but it's still like in the works coming up. Last year we had one on employability skills and stuff. So if anybody needs tips on viewing their CV, all you need to do is go to our Slack, our YouTube channel, and then you'll be able to like catch a recap of that workshop. We had people, HR vetting CVs on the spot, things like that, right? And then we had someone come and speak about, interviews, how they work, all of those things, at least specifically to a tech sales and revenue focused professional, right? Also within the community, which is one of the things that we push for the most, we push for people to engage themselves. Thank you so much, Mujiba, for that. Okay, I was just going to drop. Yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, we usually push for people to interact with each other because you really don't know if you're speaking to one, OG that would just, help you sort out whatever hard time you're having at work when it comes to like doing your job. So we really push for people to interact with each other. A lot of interesting collaboration have happened within the community. Some we're not even aware of. Some, we were aware of different sort of things. People are aligning, working together, recommending each other for jobs, opportunities, like sharing insights. People come there to ask questions about stuff. You're having this hard time with this deal, you can come on there and then seek support. So finally, Erica has joined us. Hi, Erica. How are you doing today? Hello?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Yeah, how are you doing today? How did your day go?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Fine. I'm doing fantastically well as well. I'm excited about this session because we supposed to have this last month and then the whole event and everything. Finally, we're here. I'm so excited. Everyone is excited on the call as well. And we have a couple, first timers who are really looking forward to this session. Yeah, so thank you for making time out. Before we begin, asking everybody how their day went and if they worked from home or if you worked from the office. Did you tell me you work from the office or work from outdoor or somewhere? I need my own guns.
Oh, for me, I was running through traffic trying to get to the best internet.
Oh wow, I can imagine. So yeah, that's three to how many? 3 to 5 people that work from home and work from the house. That's cool. Yeah, so we're getting started right about now. Again, like I mentioned, if you know anybody that needs to be here, give them a nudge. Now, Erica Franklin is somebody that I've been looking forward to having in the community for a while now. She is a principal consultant and then founder at EVF Consulting. She's also the global director of sales at Sistas in Sales. She's had over a decade-long experience when it comes to sales, business development, partnerships globally in the US, in Ghana, basically, various countries. Also, she's currently the co-founder of African Growth and Leaders in Ghana, in the UK, right? And then I think they also have like a branch in Ghana or thereabout. And she's also the COO at Africa Sales Academy. She's somebody who's had deep experience when it comes to building business, scaling partnerships, talking expansion, anything that's to do like revenue focused business building. She's really somebody that I love to listen to and interact with. And I do look forward to a very, very exciting session today. Hi, Eri. So please get ready to milk this session. All of the questions you've been saving up, don't spare her. All right. Don't let her have a very easy session. Bombard her with all the questions. So let's make this as interactive as possible. Hi, Erica, over to you now.
Okay, just a quick question for you for housekeeping. Will you be moving the slides for me, or do I need to do that?
Which do you prefer? The way I'm here to serve. Which is your preference?
For me, just because of the network. Yep. Yeah, the network here is in and out as well. So let's see how far we can get. If you can control it just to keep it up, that could be helpful for me.
No problem. Just let me know when you want me to move what's the next slide.
Okay. Thank you, TT, for that wonderful introduction. And hi, everyone on the line. Again, apologies for the internet. But we are where we are, and we'll get through it. And hopefully I can provide you with the best advice and answer your questions in regards to building partnerships and expanding your businesses. Like TT said, I have a background over 15 years building relationships and so forth, and working in partnerships for about the last, I would say most of my career as well, just because I would consider a partnership with any of my customers, even if it was early on, contract-wise, or even in the customer success wheelhouse and so forth. So today we'll be diving into this compelling topic. So this is something near and dear to my heart in regards to building partnerships, because I do think
Sorry. Is it just me, or has Erica gone off?
Oh no, it's not. Let's just give us some time to get back in.
for a second just to get the IT guy here to see if they can fix it. So give me two minutes, please.
All right.
Okay, I got them to give me a different internet, so apologies again. But like I was saying before, hopefully you can still hear me. We'll be exploring this topic and talking about some of the frameworks, some of the tips and tricks to be able to be successful around telling your partnership stories, and so forth. Did we already do a round, TT, of where everybody is located? Is everybody in Nigeria, or is there any? I'm the only one in Ghana. Maybe.
The Nigerians. Hi, Aisha. Hi, Mori, Lua. Hi, Uchenna. So mostly Nigerians, in fact, all
Okay.
Nigerians. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm hoping to come to Nigeria. TT and I have talked about it, so hopefully I can meet you all soon. So we can go to the next slide. So how will we use this hour together? So I'll kick off the conversation with discussing why storytelling works, how to build a story, and then we'll speak about the role of storytelling in partnerships specifically. After that, we'll dive into how to use storytelling for expansion and market growth, and a few tips on pitching to your stakeholders and even investors. And then we'll also talk about a few common pitfalls, and then we'll close. I'll provide you all with a template that you can walk away with to make sure that you're able to use it in your practical, in your job, or if you're going to use it on a new business partner or customer. Awesome. So this quote here I pulled from Forbes. It's a 2023 article, but I think it's still relevant. So at its core, storytelling refers to the art of crafting narratives that capture the essence of your brand and appeal to your audience. And it's also communicating narratives in a way that is both relatable and memorable. So therefore, when we look at this, I want to just make sure that we're calling out certain things that I have bolded, right? It's really key that the customer can relate to the story that you're actually telling. So if you think about the way that you're pitching today, you may be walking into some of the rooms talking about features and your services and your products directly, instead of talking specifically to the client's problem and talking about the problem within their own shoes, right? So that's where storytelling comes into play. And then this other piece, in my many years, because Candace she wrote this, in my many years as a social media specialist, I found that storytelling tends to go beyond the features and the benefits of the framework of your product or service, just like I just mentioned, and it goes deeper into this emotional and psychological aspects of your audience decision-making process. So in order to really grasp, so think about some of the commercials that you watch, some of the things that pop up on your phone when you're on Instagram, TikTok, things that kind of catch your eye. Think about how you could deliver that same kind of feeling or emotional push when you're going to stand in these meetings and to be able to talk to your customer specifically. Go to the next slide. So why storytelling works? So number one, right? So these are kind of the 5 different things I want us to really touch on in regards to why it works. We'll dive deeper into kind of framework of how to build a story, but let's talk about high level. So again, going back to what that quote mentioned, is building that emotional connection. So helping your partner and stakeholders connect. I think you went back, TT, yep. Helping your partners and stakeholders connect to the vision and the deeper kind of level and meaning of what you want to put forth. It's very nurturing and it ties that emotional bond when you are talking about something that resonates with people. So just think about if you're a mother and someone's talking about children, if you, if you're a sports fan and someone's talking about football and your favorite team, those things resonate with you even deeper than just the higher level of just sports itself or motherhood itself, right? So think about those things that dig in on a deeper level. The second part of this is clarifying the value. So clarity of the value proposition is key here when you're going to tell this story or when you're going to pitch, because it really simplifies how your value will help and be relatable again to that partner or customer that you're trying to reach. And by sharing a story that's very complicated and full of different concepts can really confuse the customer, as opposed to if it's really simplified and direct. Which will enable your audience to be able to understand why the offering that you have put before them is really valuable. The next is this aligning with your stakeholders, so having this unified purpose. So storytelling really brings together internal teams and external partners around a common mission. So your team itself at the company, as well as the people you're trying to pitch to, all come together around this one goal. And sometimes, again, that goal that you think is so high level is not really the problem. It's something deeper. So digging deep on those discovery calls and so forth to be able to figure that out will be very helpful. And in everyone's efforts, it ensures that everything is working to the benefit to get you that contract or to get you that renewal or get you that new partnership. The fourth thing is really differentiating your brand. So how can you set your company or what your service is apart from everybody else in such a competitive market? So if you think about brands like, I know we go back to like Coca-Cola, even Biggie, right? I think in Nigeria, that's the beverage that has been growing that I've seen. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I think that's how you pronounce it. But those types of things, they differentiate themselves. They partner with different organizations, sports clubs, and they make you see them even though you would never have seen them before. That's the type of way I want you to think in regards to how you're going to tell this story to really be able to get in front of the customer. What makes you different than all the other people who are standing in line to pitch for this customer? Building trust will open all of the doors. So number 5, by tying the outcomes to real people and real problems, the prospect or the current customer can see themselves in the story. So we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. And then lastly, driving that sustainable growth. So with this approach usually will lead to long-term engagements as the customer usually feels heard and cared for. Therefore, the customer finds your relationship meaningful and something that they can't do without. So now that you're, embedded into their kind of process in their mind, why they must have you, they'll go home thinking about you after this pitch. So that's what you want them to remember. Go to the next slide. So in regards to storytelling and data dumping, so if you're thinking about how you currently sell, a lot of people, and maybe you have already started this storytelling journey, but I will tell you in a lot of pitches that I've seen, even still today, even email communications, think about some of the LinkedIn messages you get, the emails that fill up your box when they go to pitch to you, is more data dumping, right? So they give you these generic figures, they give you unrelatable data that may not be, important to you. So that's more of data dumping or telling you why their features are the best for the market as opposed to why they're the best for you, because they might have never read about you, understand your company. And so that storytelling piece is really all about conveying a message through this narrative structure. And it's not just about listing features and benefits, and instead it's about bringing those features to life within a relatable real world context. So thinking about me working at Sistas in sales, right? And how I work with partners and so forth, thinking about some of the problems that I have and how you would then tell me, Erica, specifically, you're in this role, you probably have these problems or you've communicated these problems to me. This is how I would solve those for you so you can have time back in your day to be able to go spend time with your baby. You hear how, just that short sentence is very deep and relatable to me because you're touching on something so sensitive as my family. And the thing that I really want more is time. And you're also solving a business problem for me as well. And then, you can go to the next slide. Keep going. So let's just take a pause here with this real world example really quickly. So I know of Vicki James. Vicki James has been on my timeline for a long time. And if you read about me, I'm originally from the United States. And I will tell you that a lot of people globally that I know who are not on the continent know of Vicki James because she has done such a great job with storytelling. If you think about how she presents herself and how she repeatedly comes back and is very consistent with her messaging, that's what you need to think about when you go to pitch, when you go to email and follow up, when you go through all of the different steps that it's going to take you to get a customer. I'm not saying to go build an Instagram with 2 million followers or anything like that, but just think about some of those psychological and emotional things that she's pushing on. Because she has been able to go from a nobody, right, in the industry. She's 29 years old And she's been able to build this, grand business and with different multiple streams of income as well. So now outside of her bridal, right, if you don't know of her, like she just did the wedding for Prissy and Juma, right? Juma Jux out of Tanzania, right? They were everywhere all day on my timeline to where they caught up with friends who didn't even hear of her, right? That I know of that are, again, not on the continent. It was everywhere. So if you think about it in that context, I'm not saying to go out there and build your social media platforms and have your pitch everywhere, but think about how the messaging within the room that you're pitching in can go everywhere within the company that you're pitching to. So you want people to walk out of that room, going back, talking to their colleagues, talking to the decision makers, talking to their billing people, their purchasing folks about what they just heard, what they just saw, and how it's going to change their life. Hopefully that's helpful. How many of you know of Vicki James? I'm sure you do, correct? Please tell me you do.
Yes, we
Right.
do.
But hopefully from my point of view, which I'm not in Nigeria, I'm in Ghana right now, but we've seen such a massive impact. And if you watch some of her YouTube, even the Instagram stories, the TikTok stories that she posts about what she does, she goes back and is relatable. If you've seen like her behind the scenes videos, she strips her, she takes the wig off, she got on regular clothes, she's in the back talking about the work that she's doing, the importance of her product, how much, impact it's going to make on that day that is, for the audience that she's trying to relate to. She makes you want to go and buy one of her dresses or buy one of her products. And she's even launched a mail line now with her husband. So it's like, it makes you want to go and buy something of one of these products that she has. And you always see her everywhere because look at all the following that she has. And this is not even including YouTube and all the other social media. So think of, again, if you take this on a smaller scale and you're pitching in that one room to, let's say, 5 people, how can those 5 people then make sure they remember you to go back to the rest of the people in their company to be able to talk about the products and services that you're going to deliver to them and how relatable it is to their lives? All right, so let's get a little bit of energy in the room. So is there anybody on the line that can share any brands that have great stories in their opinion that have influenced them to buy? Would anybody like to share? Should we call on somebody, TT? Should we call on Dennis? Are there any brands that you know that you have purchased?
Hi, Dennis.
He's laughing. Will you come off of mute and share any brands that have influenced you to buy?
I think the number one brand that stands out is literally Apple. I don't think I have any gadgets that is not an Apple product. And it just goes to show that no matter how big they are always pushing brand storytelling down people's throats. They're always coming up with ways to invent themselves or reinvent themselves. If you look at when they started compared to where they are, the iPhone 6 compared to iPhone 16, I've used like literally both of them. And I can tell you from when they started to where they are right now. So I think Apple, basically, so that's like the one product or one company that stands out for me in terms of like branding and storytelling.
Yeah, I love it. And think about how the initial pitch to whoever your provider was, right? They need that phone, and then how they continue to pitch to you without even pitching, right? When you go somewhere and you see someone with an Apple computer, it reminds you of them. When you get an update on your phone, it reminds you of them, right? There's a lot of reminders about Apple in your life, and it's also when they have a new feature or something like that to make your life easier, you remember that, right? They come back to you, they send you a message, so those types of things is understanding the customer, where those communications can be seen, how often, and what the feeling you get when you see their brand as well. Is there anybody else that wants to share on the line? Huh.
I think mine would be, let me go. So
Okay.
there is this guy on YouTube. He's a real estate vlogger, MS Uzema or something. He tells he showcases houses with amazing storytelling, amazing video content. Someone got me engaged on his videos, and ever since I've become a fan of it. Now you see me on Instagram looking at aesthetically pleasing houses. Now I don't like looking at Lagos houses anymore. Because now I've come to see what a house could actually look like, what a proper state could actually look like. I just watch a video when I just want to be in my fantasy world, and it has me dreaming about $30 million houses. When will I buy it? Start to sell it, and yeah. So that's one person. Get you into the details, the tiles, the doors, the handles. See me googling, wardrobe doors and kitchenettes, and then learning new terms. So that's like one brand that has really stood out to me. And when it comes to how we tell stories, yeah, to sell houses, to showcase houses, and even areas, yeah.
Yeah, and again, with that story, thank you, TT, for that, because that's a different kind of sales industry, right? Real estate. Think about when you are or rent or whatever. The agent's job is to show you how you fit in to the property, right? So each person who comes to see that property shouldn't be getting the same spiel from that person. If if your like key element that you're looking for in the house is a kitchen, you should be walking slower through that kitchen, talking about all the problems it's going to solve for you, right? If your, if your key thing is like an outside area, those things and how you can live into that. So like I would go at that with, oh, Titi, you really love to cook. Look at these top grade appliances in here. Look at how you have a view outside, so then that way you can actually tie to make you want, right? Or make you want the revenue to buy it, right? So that's exactly it. If we talk about how to, or what the impact of storytelling is. Anybody have any questions before we dive into how to build a strong story? If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll continue to answer. We'll also have a Q&A at the end. Awesome. So how must we go about building a storyline or a strong story to help your business grow? So since people connect with people and not just pictures, your story must reflect your values, your vision, and the unique perspective that you bring to the market. And it's critical that you emphasize storytelling it's critical that I emphasize that storytelling isn't just a one size fit all. So again, you can't tell the same story to every customer, like I just mentioned with this real estate example that TT gave. Authenticity is really key when it comes to storytelling. So, people can definitely tell when you're making stuff up or when you're going too far or when the problem is not being solved for them. So we can jump over to the next slide, TT. So in regards to how you can build that powerful story, so let's talk about 3 key elements of crafting the storyline that you want in regards to selling and how you should go about that. So the first thing is the characters within the story. So this is a true story, right? But you still want to go into who has the main pain, right? Your actual buyer is usually the hero, right? So you definitely want to include them in the story, but then you also want to include who has the main pain. So your buyer might actually be a VP of sales or someone on a team, but then the actual problem that you're solving for may be for a CTO, right? If you're building some type of product or you're resolving some type of thing, but somebody else is paying for it. So you want to be making sure that you're including the people that are going to actually make the decision in the storyline. The actual buyer is very key because they're the ones who are going to get you the money that you want. In regards to stakeholders, so at the bottom you see stakeholders. So those are all the other people that's going to be involved with the decision making as well. So you want to tailor parts of the story to each one's concern. So usually when you do this before the pitch call, you usually want to have some type of understanding of who's going to be on that call. So I did this, I'll tell you this, I did a mock presentation for a job interview to where I had to pitch a product that was non-existent, right? But they gave me all the key players in the room, right? And so I had to speak and involve them inside of this process and storytell to them of how what I'm going to provide will solve, you know, either each one of their problems or how their problems will become worse if they don't use our product. And specifically talking about what they are using today and then how what they would use in the future with me would change their lives, pretty much. The second column in regards to, oh, we can go back. So that was just characters. In the second column, we have problem. And so you want to consider the problem. And with the problem, you want to be able to define the pain clearly. So I think I mentioned at the top of the call that pain, the initial pain that you think that a customer has might not be the real pain when you dig deeper. So you want to ask very probing questions on your discovery calls. If it's a customer who has been around for a long time, you know, you have history that you probably have had with this customer for years, but then they probably have a new problem that has come up and you might want to actually sell them like a new feature or something like that. You want to figure out what exactly is the pain and how much pain is it really causing. So what states are, you know, show the stakes, right? So if they don't renew or if they don't buy your product, what will happen to them? So what's the problem and what will happen to them if they don't buy? I would actually tell them what will happen if they don't buy. And then lastly, using emotion and data. So this is where the data, you're not necessarily data dumping, you are using data in a very intelligent way to be able to deliver on actual outcomes and making sure that they can see that it's real for them. And then the last column in regards to solution. So you want to make sure that when you're telling this story that you're ending or, you know, the thread between the entire storyline is positioning your product as a fit. So making sure that, again, you have the right people on the call to be able to pitch to or in the room. You are talking about the problem. It could be multiple problems because you have different stakeholders. And then you're also telling them all how you could solve their problems. The next thing will be showing proof for that solution. So if you have testimonials, if you have case studies, if you can throw out some of their competitors that you might have had, if it's not in an NDA, right? Telling them how you have solved other people's problems, help them understand that you can do it. And then lastly, the success vision. This piece is really key because you're kind of selling them a dream. So you're telling them exactly how it could look if they were to use your product. So think about making up results, right? Or possible results that could show them where they could go based off of being in a position as a fit and showing the proof from other customers, how you can change them to be one of those customers that you'll later come to for a testimonial. Any questions around that? TT, let me know if there's anything in the chat.
No, not yet. The bulk of the questions would actually come after the session. But then there are actually a couple on a sheet, but then maybe after your session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go to the next slide. So I mentioned integrating data into the storytelling. It definitely will help with your credibility, but we don't want to necessarily data dump. So we want to use this again in a very intelligent way to be able to tell that story. So the first thing would be to make sure that you're setting the stage with the data. So briefly talking about or elaborating on that problem and the opportunity that they have. And what I mean by opportunity is to show them if, again, they use your product, what could happen to them. Making sure that the things that you're using, those data points are relevant. And it's not just like all the data that you had in this standard deck, but you're actually going through understanding their problem and picking out the things that are relatable to them so you can be able to hit the nail on the head when you talk to them. Next will be showing the transformation. So taking that data and again, telling their story in their shoes to make them understand what problems you would alleviate. So again, if it's solving a data problem such as like data entry, cleaning up all their data, making sure that they have the right data points in their CRM, the ultimate pain point is probably time, right? It's probably not actually the data cleanup. It's probably getting that time back, being more efficient, maybe having less head count because now they might need to scale back and your company can help them do that. So that's what I mean by the problem that you might see is data cleanup, but the real problem that would be relatable to them is that time efficiency, head count, cutting and so forth. So really digging into what they need and to be able to tell a story with those products and services that you have. And then lastly, pairing those numbers with a human. So the things I just described, right? The data cleanup and relating that to timing and so forth. Tie that back to the CTO, tie that back to the VP of sales, tie that back to the HR manager, who all these things will be able to impact and make them feel like if they don't have your product, they will fail. Go to the next slide. So when we talk a little bit about brand and narrative. So taking maybe a step back into just what the branding pieces do to you and how they resonate. So when you're talking about your company in these storytelling moments, you want to make sure that you're leading with authenticity as well as heart. And I know that, we like to do sales pitches and scripts and so forth, but again, really customizing it to the audience that you're going to be pitching to. So if you're pitching to Nigerian companies right now and you want to pitch to companies in Rwanda or companies in Ghana, really knowing the audience and what will make, pull on their heartstrings and what their problems really are and how your products can solve what they're looking for is probably different than what it is to the audience that you're already selling to. So make sure that what you're pitching and so forth is very authentic to who you are, the way you're pitching, your tone, taking into consideration some things like that, and then staying consistent and speak with a purpose. So we talked about before, Dennis mentioned how Apple has like infiltrated his life, right? And he can't get it out of his head. He has every phone. I'm the same with you, Dennis. I have a computer, I got my Apple phone, got my iPods, got, all these things. And every time the price go up, we still spending, right? So they have stayed consistent and they will speak to me with purpose, right? Because they know I got a problem. So think again how you're doing that with your pitch. And come the same way everywhere. So if your decision maker is on WhatsApp, if your decision maker is over email, if your decision maker is over social media, think about how you can change those ways of sending your message, but the message actually stays consistent, very heartfelt, very authentic to be able to keep them in the loop. So when it comes to partnerships, which is our main focus here, what some of the things that I think are very, very important to keep in mind is, so partnerships is a bit different when it comes to a customer, right? So the customer definitely has a problem in this situation for a partnership, but we want to also look at the win-win when it comes to the actual partnership result, right? So we want to start with the shared purpose. So when we begin with a shared purpose, we're laying the foundation for a partnership that's more than just transactional. So it's not like what I can get from you. So in this situation, right, I'm partnering with TT to be able to put this webinar on, right? It's not just a transaction. TT actually spoke at one of our Sistas sales events. We have so many ideas to continue to work together. And I also got to know more about TT. She got to know more about me. And so I feel like we have a good relationship. She has my phone number. We talk on WhatsApp. So, there's more than this than just a transaction. It's actually about really creating that win-win relationship, what I just mentioned before, which is number 2. So how can we highlight the collective win? So it's not just about one person or one business winning, but what can that business provide? What can that business, what relationship can we build? Because it might not be a result today, but it could be a result down the line as well. So some of the sales deals or the things that you're working on, you also need to think long term, because some of those things might not come depending on what types of products and services you sell. Depending on your closing time and your deal size and so forth, things could sell in 30 days, 15 days. Some things take, 3 months. Some things take a year, depending on your products and services again. And looking at that win-win in a partnership is very good. So there's partnerships out here, the collaboration that you can do to be able to also build your brand and build a company brand. And so that has been really good. I know for some brands, having more speaking engagements, right? Having more product efficiency, right? So if you need a CRM and you go partner with a CRM provider that can help you get there, and you're actually providing them with data and usage and so forth, some of those type of partnerships really work in the long haul. There's also larger partnerships when you think about like celebrities and so forth, when they partner with beverage brands, as well as any type of brand that has a lot of exposure. Is going to get even more exposure because of the way that they're working together and the position that they're doing with the actual brand of themselves and the other brand that has now came on board. And then lastly, be very direct about your value. So I do know that I have sat in a lot of pitches and a lot of even meetings after they won the deal, and people are not very direct after. So really making sure that you're still communicating. I talked a lot about being consistent. Tell me again why this product is going to work. Tell me again why things are going to be great. Tell me again the problems that you're going to solve. Keep reiterating those things to make sure that you're very direct about your values so people don't forget. Also, you have turnover. So the person you might have sold to might not be there anymore. So you need to keep those conversations going on why they need you and why you're important to the business. Or we can skip this one. I had a partnership example up there. It was DSTV, and I know we have a struggle with DSTV, but I wanted to mention them, and then I decided not to. But I guess I can talk a little bit about. You don't need to go back to the slide, but for this example, and I didn't finish the slide as you can see, but it was really something when they were doing great on the continent, right? I know that they're not doing that great anymore, or as well as they were in some years past. But when it initially was, better priced and so forth, more affordable for the markets, it was a good product. Just because if you think about the exposure, the partnerships that they have with different channels and brands, for me, like Disney, CNN, to be able to see World News, BBC. So think about some of those things, and then also with the local entertainment. So for the Nigerian market to have, a lot of those local kind of stations and so forth to be able to provide you with the local news and entertainment as well was very key. And then they had all these these are the current kind of packages that they have to be able to sell you the different levels and so forth. But at one time, was great. I think, I'm not sure about how you all feel about it today, but if you think in that scope, the point of this whole partnership example is to understand how they ended up going to be able to spread so quickly, and then to also be able to have global exposure with having these global partnerships with these other channels, as well as partnerships with local channels. So they're doing it on both sides. And yeah, they still exist, but I know that business has been a challenge now. So we go to the next slide. This next interaction question was more around what other partnerships have you seen that worked? That you can think about. I can think about some sporting partnerships off the top of my head, but would love to hear from the audience. Is there anybody you want to call on, TT, to push them?
Oh yeah, Henry. Drop it like a bomb. Hi, Henry.
Hey, hi guys. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. So let's start with what partnerships do you think are doing well? We can talk about sports partnerships. We can talk about technology partnerships that you can think about. Like, have you seen in the market that have done well with partnering with another company or another brand to be able to elevate themselves?
I mean, one partnership I'm very sure about is the one the cloud service providers are doing with data centers, right? Either for colocation or cloud services, because the hyperscalers know that they need these data centers to coexist, right? And because of the trend, and I mean how tech is it's moving, it's expedient for hyperscalers to uh, pair up and partner with data centers to be able to sell services and also host those services at affordable rates. If not, they'll become upstate. So, for me, that's one partnership that is working. Yeah, and you also see a lot of OEMs partnering with certain new partner um, other collaborators within their space. So I hear that um, is it Nutanix, right? So Nutanix partnerships with most of the OEMs, HP, Huawei, and the rest, to run their converged infrastructure was very smart because they understand that they do not have the hardware market, and they appreciate the fact that yes, they have a strong solution that runs on any hardware. So the smart thing to do in Africa is to position with any OEM that can handle their hypervisor and go to market it faster. I mean, that's just a few. Predominantly, tech is speaking more to collaborations because you can't be everywhere. You can't be everywhere, but ultimately, the value would be in tying up with relationships that can take your routes to market faster, provide that value easier, and customer access is also easy. I don't know if that speaks to what your question was to me.
Yes, it does. It does. And
Okay.
yes, the key here is that the pain point probably was something, you know, technical. However, the deeper pain was speed, right? Or efficiency. Um, and so to show, I'm sure those companies, when they were going to pitch or when they are still probably selling to each other now, right, to be able to maintain contracts and renew and so forth, is to show them how quickly they can move faster than everybody else, most likely. So I love,
Correct.
yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, TT.
You want to move ahead? I think one more person I'd like to call would be Gloria. But before we go to Gloria, let me chip one in so she can warm up and it's not so sudden. I think a very interesting one that is not that is not really spoken about, but then I do feel like it's a big deal, is that between telcos and the bank, right? So many years ago, now it feels like 100 years ago, when you need to recharge, your airtime, you have to walk to a shop that vends, that sells, airtime vouchers and things, and then you have to scratch those things. Honestly, I don't know if I've seen a paper recharge card in like 3-5 years now. I don't have any memory of what it looks like anymore, right? Because now it's gone. All you need to do is just press some code on your phone. But GT star 373 star, whatever the amount you want to buy, and it happens in a second, right? Same with service providers, bill payments, right? You no longer have to go to the bank. There was a generation ago where we used to go to the bank to actually pay your NEPA bills. I don't know if anybody has a memory here. Feels like a lifetime ago. Right now,
Are you kidding me?
you've forgotten.
Abba. Yes, of course, I know.
Exactly. So, but then on now it feels like a lifetime ago. And it was just like some few years ago. Now it's like on your phone, you in a second. You have your meter number. You have a meter number. You insert it, buy your credits, and then you load up your phone. You have your token. Load up your phone load up your light in a minute. Right? There's a lot of this a lot of these partnerships that don't feel like a big deal, but then they've made our everyday life easier. And some 10 years ago, it was a completely different story. But right now, we can't even remember, right? What that life was like.
Yeah.
Gloria,
What'd you say?
is Gloria ready for us now?
Hi, Titi. How did I know you were going to call me? But yeah, I mean, I was, yeah, I was going to just, piggyback on what Henry was talking about, right? Partnerships in the tech space. It's quite amazing when you think about it. And when you both were speaking, what just came to mind was how tech companies that are embedded finance companies and banking as a service companies are helping other smaller tech companies go to market quicker and faster. Before now, when we just got into tech space, you see that smaller tech companies are coming in. Young people who have ideas have to try to build a total infrastructure, and it would take them weeks, months, sometimes years even, because they do not have licenses or they do not have the developer infrastructure and all of that to be able to go to market quicker, right? But now we see companies like Anchor, which is where I work, and Fincra and the likes that already have this infrastructure in place that are saying, you guys, you just come take these solutions already and go to market faster. And we can see that these types of solutions are also helping other ecosystems like the healthcare system. Now we're having things like health tech, cultural system. Now we're having things like agri-tech, right? Because these other tech solutions are already provided. So these types of partnerships, I mean, have been quite interesting to see. Erica, thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I was gonna say things like food delivery, like all the services you can,
Exactly.
right? And it's multi-partnerships, right? It's that company along with a bank, along with the, like you said, the fintech provider who can get the money where they need to go. So like personally, I use SendWave, right? Because I'm moving money all over the place. And so, and there's, products like Flutterwave, and there's so many other products that can move money in regards to fintech solutions that we found, readily able and as well as good quality. So like you said before, those things have grown. TT, I do remember even in the United States where you couldn't move money like we move it today, right? You had to go to the bank, or even the older people, are still going to the bank because they don't even trust what's going on the app, right? But we're getting there, right? So, but yes, technology has definitely a lot to do with the partnerships. And most of us work in tech, right? And so we're seeing how we're changing the game in regards to efficiency and speed. I would say those are the two major things that technology solves for outside of the initial problem that some of these teams are having. So I love that. If there's anybody on the line who can answer the question that's on the board here. So I would love to hear about what's the biggest challenge in your storytelling journey for your own business growth. So like, what are you all struggling with when it comes to pitching or renewing a customer or getting a new customer when it comes to storytelling? Gloria, I see your hand raised.
Yes, please, Erica. I think for me, it's trying to prove value without sounding very salesy, especially because I'm trying to find examples to tell this story, especially because the product I sell is not a physical product, right? So I find it very difficult because these are like services. So I know the features, right? But I just find it very difficult to put it in a storytelling form without, sounding too salesy. Yeah, that's actually one challenge that I have.
So give me one of the products really quickly, and let's see if we can work through this.
Okay, so let's take the simplest product, virtual accounts.
Virtual accounts,
Yeah.
meaning like a virtual.
So you can pay by transfer with a virtual account number. So for us, I sell to a B2B market, not a B2C. So I'm having to sell to, let's take Techsales, for instance, who has a community that they can then provide these virtual account numbers to serve their communities, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So I want Techsales to be able to leverage my virtual account services to then provide it to their own end customers or end users.
Right. And so with that, I would say, so one, going back to that kind of framework that we talked about before, and like I said, I'll provide you all in a few slides of an actual framework that you can use with some kind of prompts, right? But in the scenario that you're in, it's like, who's the person in the room? If it's me that you're selling to, again, you want to get to know me on that discovery call, figure out what my real problem is, what the problems my community is having, and what problems your services can solve for. And that is that's the story you're going to tell. You're going to tell me that, Erica, we talked about this. Wouldn't it be amazing if, you were to use X and Y service to be able to eliminate, X and Y problem and be able to have the result that you want, whatever that result is that I'm looking for. So that's the high level of it, right? You'll dig deeper with data points and testimonials that you have from similar customers and so forth. But that's the gist of it. You want to be able to touch me personally, talk to me personally, and not just say, oh, hey, this is my product. This is what we do. This is the problem, the general problems that we solve for. Thanks for coming. Please give me your money, right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Johnson, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So I work with an e-commerce, right? And we're a platform for procurement, and we are poised for procurement across different industries and sectors. But we are not quite there yet, right? Even our website is not that functional yet. So for now, we are bootstrapping. And so for now, we try to market ourselves as we procure for companies, but like we do it directly, like a normal business. But we are building towards that level, right? I see the vision and I see it very, very clearly. But for me, the reason I have problems because with the storytelling, because what we offer is so wide in range. So basically, we're a procurement platform for business projects and industrial supplies. So what that means is that if you want to set up like a school, the supplies you basically need, you could like you want to be able to come on the website and order everything you might need. You want to set up an hospital, you want to basically be able to come to your website and order everything you might need, something like that. So you want to start a business, that's the idea basically. And but for now we try to do different things. We procure for companies, maybe their t-shirt, their branding, different things. And we just try to do that to bootstrap and build the business. So that's where the problem comes in for me, that I have some issues sometimes with my boss, is that the storytelling, to be able to customize the story to a person. I'm talking to a school, right? I'm talking to a school and I'm trying to tailor what I'm saying to them. He has issues with me, that's my boss now, so to speak, because I'm not saying the tagline, we're a platform for business projects and industrial supplies, because that does not mean anything to a school in that moment. Right? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes.
Right? That doesn't mean anything to a school in that moment. So when I try to customize, he said something to me. He said that anything I customize can't scale, you know. So anything you customize can't scale. If iPhone was customizing their phones all the time, then I would be able to produce for so many people. And that makes a lot of sense to me. But when I try to stick to that rule to not customize the storytelling, then it's just bland. And the cold call is just cold.
Correct. So example for you, there's like you said, you have different customer like industries, right? So you have schools, for instance. If you think about who you're selling to, most likely like the headmaster, principal, person, right? Most likely. Their not problem, but their closest people are the teachers, right? And then the teachers are thinking about the kids. So ultimately, I would think that your storyline should be how you're going to impact all three of those segments to be able to improve their life with your products, right? So for the principal, it's probably like reporting, infrastructure, and budgeting, right? For the teacher, it's probably having those things in the classroom to be able to teach and to be able to get their kids in and out and have the best experience possible. And for the children, is to actually provide the best education possible, right? Or education experience possible, so they can be the greatest people they can be, right, when they grow up. So you need to, I would say, think deeper into who you're speaking to, right? So if we just take those three different things I gave you, there's a story within that, right? Or there's an actual story across all three that you could tell to the people, because you don't need a child in the room to be able to tell the children's story, right? That's going to resonate with not only the teachers, but also the principal, because that's why they work at the school. Does that make sense, Johnson? Like, when you think about it that deep, on that deeper level, how are you impacting them with the products that you're going to have, right? I gave you the example about the principal. With the teacher, it's these different problems that they're having that you're going to solve for. And ultimately, the tie and the emotional connection would be, raising the next generation or educating the next generation. And so that story itself will get you the emotional tie that you want in regards to them listening to you. The next thing is, the results. How will your product be, a better solution for them than what they have already? What problems are they already experiencing? And again, the principal is probably, rubbing their head with whatever lack of reporting or lack of infrastructure, like I said, or lack of technology that they have, lack of ease, speed, and so forth. So what is their real problem that's causing them to lose either money or time day to day? That's going to be a key. So that discovery call, again, going back to whatever customer that you have, figuring out what the problem is, high level why your product was built. But what is that customer actually experiencing? That school is experiencing a different problem than your hospital, right? And so you need to be able to pinpoint that and use that in your storyline to convey the sale. So let's keep going. But I love it. I love the engagement. So storytelling for expansion and market growth. This goes back to when you want to expand into a different market. So if you want to go to a different country, if you want to go to a different part of Nigeria, if you want to go to a different part of the world, what actually, in the story can you bridge together? And then what actually do you need to update and change? You can go to the next slide. So there's two main things that in order for you to be able to drive growth, it could be also driving growth within the market that you already are in. So Johnson, with your product, this would be key because you have different industries. So if you just started with schools in that market, you probably could just, like you said, sell to hospitals, sell to doctors' offices, anybody who, like you're saying, is buying supplies and so forth. And I looked you up on LinkedIn, so I'll be connecting with you. As well as Gloria and anybody else who wants to connect with me. But the two key things I want you to think about is positioning your brand as a trusted player. So I know Johnson and Gloria, you mentioned your products. What makes you better than the rest, right? What makes you, out of the competitive market, what's going to put you in front of others? And it might be the way that you actually sell as opposed to your product and that relationship that you can build, but there may be something in your product or services that can really stand out. And again, that goes back to that discovery call, even if it's not a discovery call, because I've done this with customers who I've had for a long time in my book of business, that's what we call it. And to be able to listen to them on check-in calls and so forth and identify new problems that they have that our products can solve, you end up making more money and upselling and so forth in that manner. And being that good listener will help you position yourself and your brand to be that trusted player. So really building that relationship and creating loyalty through conversations, understanding their problems, and also showing them results. And then the next thing will be tailoring narratives for a global audience. So when I mention this, it's more about adapting the storytelling. So Johnson, again, in your case, you're adapting the story that you would tell to a hospital, to a school. It's a different impact, it's a different effect. It's the same product that you're going to be using, but you need to tailor your story to be able to touch the lives of the people that you actually are selling to. So you don't want to use that template that that you might have learned in your onboarding or just learning the product. Your customers is actually the storyline here. Again, different problems, different styles of communication, and more. Awesome. So then when we look at how to, oh, go ahead. Did somebody say something?
I just said thank you.
Oh, yes. So how to pitch for investors and stakeholders. So first we want to highlight the market potential within the data-driven insight. So what this is pretty much saying is not just throwing around the statistics, but painting a vivid picture of the future for them. So again, digging deeper, who is your buyer? Who are the people that your product or service is going to impact, and showing them that in the storyline so they can understand the ROI of what you're trying to sell to them. And then connecting your vision to tangible outcomes. So Johnson, if you have any results that you already have with, in either industry, it's good to use it again in that industry. Getting testimonials, getting customer success stories, understanding why those customers bought in the first place and why they are still using your product will help you be able to continue to sell. So, and it will help you continue to paint a picture of why your product is number one in the market in the future. And then lastly, leveraging success stories and testimonies, like I just mentioned. So those things will help that proof that we talked about before, showing that proof to your audience when you go to pitch to them. And those people in the room will listen. Again, like I said, if you talk about their competitors or someone who is like a similar business size and similar business model, they'll be closer to that in their mind because they probably heard of the brand, or they can go Google them and be like, that company really helped them. Look at where they went from to now, and see the ROI that they cost other people and why they now need to invest. So common pitfalls. So we did talk about some of these things already with some of the engagement that we've had, but number one is drowning your audience in numbers. So I've seen very, very long pitch decks, right? Like 50 slides. I'm telling you right now, nobody has time. So you want, again, to be able to cut down and talk directly to the audience that's going to be on the call. The best thing that you can do is when you go for a pitch, whether it's in person or online, is to figure out who's going to be in the room. So whoever your contact person is, if it's the EA, if it's, the main person the main buyer, ask them about all the people that'll be on the call. Ask them before you once you get on that discovery call and you figure out what their problem is, who does that problem actually impact across the board, and have all those stakeholders on the line and be able to tell the story of how your product's going to solve all those different pain points for them and why your product is the best. Not just about numbers. Using vague language. So when you're talking to a certain audience and they don't understand abbreviations, they don't understand, the market that you actually been selling to. So Johnson, I know not to go into a school talking about medical supplies, right? To not cross industries, because those things are two different languages. And then also talking to people. I know a lot of people on the line are in the tech space, but talking to some of these folks in tech language does not resonate with them. They have no idea what you're talking about. You have to bring it down a level for some people who are not very technical to be able to explain to them how you're going to solve their problem, because that also could be something that's holding you back from getting the sale. Focusing on only features. We talked about this a lot. Focusing on only what your product can do and not actually what the problem of the customer is will hinder you from making the deal. Ignoring the audience's needs, so that goes hand in hand in what I just said, really digging deep into what problem you're solving and being able to explain that to them. And also mentioning that throughout the story of how improving their lives will get them, whatever result that they're looking for. Exaggeration, we talked about this in regards to showing them the future and so forth. We don't want you to exaggerate and tell lies. What I mean by this is like, we want you to actually tell facts, right? So don't exaggerate to where the customer is like, there's no way you can do that, right? We want you to have those customer success stories and those testimonials to be able to support, and neglect an emotional connection. So getting on a call and just diving into a pitch, or getting on a call and not asking people how their day was, or getting on a call and just spitting out numbers is not going to get you the deal. Most people are having a hell of a day, right? Or a time. And again, thank you all for welcoming me while I was having all these internet issues, but being very kind and open helps to break down those walls to where people want to hear what you have to sell. Go to the next slide. So the practical application, and we're moving to the closing. So I'll introduce this training piece here, or this practical thing that you can walk away with. So you can go to the next slide, Tixie. So this quick storytelling framework. So everyone on the call, I'm hoping that this will help you. So when you're going back to either your office or your, in your home office or outside in the office, to be able to, maybe you can print this out and hang it up. But I'm hoping that this can help you. So starting off with the hook. So start off with that spark. And in regards to this, it's like, what will tie or get your customers' attention to be able to bring them in is really key here. And so there's a prompt here. So we saw whatever customer that you're trying to sell to. So in Johnson's case, going back to this, the last person we talked about, this principal, right? We saw this behavior that you were having, struggling with the reporting of your school. It became clear that this, that problem was too big to ignore, right? And then moving over to number 2, the challenge, and set the stakes. So our clients were struggling with X, Y, and Z, and it was costing them X, Y, and Z. So figuring out what that problem is costing that principal, or what that problem is costing those teachers, or what that problem is costing those doctors or the hospital owner or whatever, is key, because that problem will turn into why your product is needed and why they need to invest. The strategy, what you did differently. So if you read that sentence, we shifted our approach by focusing on X, Y, and Z solution, aligning more closely with whatever their goal is. So you want to be able to talk more about that. Again, going back to number 1, what is that problem and opportunity that you have? Who is the person that needs to be listening? What the next part is like, what problem, what specific pain point within that problem are you solving for? And then what is the solution for them? So Gloria, in your case, you said you have many solutions, right? So I would drill it down to whatever the solution is directly for the problem, right? We could probably upsell them some of the other solutions that you have at some point, but drill it down and making sure that they get what they need initially, because then you'll be able to prove your case that your product is good and they'll come back to you for some other things. Yeah, no problem. And then number 4, the impact, prove the value. So you can say, this is where you kind of project, right? And say, in just 30 days, we saw X, Y, and Z happen, right, with our clients. And this actually solved for, more time back in their schedule, something like that. If that makes sense on how you can actually prove the value. And this is also where you can use cases, testimonials, and so forth, to be able to talk a little bit more about that proof and the payoff of what your brand can actually do for them. And then lastly, the takeaway. So this story reminds us that growth happens when and then you give some type of key insight or call to action. And then what narrative are you telling your customers? So tying that back into how it's going to impact them, as well as build that emotional kind of connection with them to walk away with at the end. So how are we feeling about this framework? I'm hoping that that's helpful for you to be able to use going forward, or giving you some ideas to think about. But will we say that is helpful? If we can get kind of some hands here, is there anything that you think I'm missing from it that I can update for you and add before we send this out? All right. Amazing. So let's recap. We got a couple of minutes, but some key takeaways, hopefully, that you'll have from this conversation. And I know we can dig way deeper, right, and do different scenarios and so forth. But ultimately, we want to just make sure that we're reiterating that storytelling drives connection and influence of building those relationships, being able to understand the problems within the customers' journeys that you are seeing, engaging those audiences correctly and talking directly to them will help you build that trust and influence their decision to ultimately buy. And then crafting your narrative with a clear framework. So applying those three elements, I think, will do everyone on the call justice when they go to actually pitch or when they go to actually have these check-in calls and so forth. Having the characters in mind, who are your key players in the room that you need to talk to directly. What problem are you solving for, and what solutions are you bringing to the table? And then tailoring your story for that global expansion. So if you are looking to grow into markets, TT, I know we've talked about this one-on-one outside of just our communities, but localizing your brand and being able to understand the market that you're going into, and then being able to alter the story that you already have to fit that market and what their specific problems are will help tremendously. And then practical tools for immediate action. So I'm hoping that previous slide will help with some general guidance on where to start. But of course, we can definitely add, one or two things there if needed. Awesome. So I know we took a couple of kind of insights. If there's any other questions, we will go ahead and take them now. I do have another, I think, maybe 10, 15 minutes, so I can go over TT, just because I know we started late.
Thank you so much, Erica. This has been super interesting, super engaging, and super inspiring. Aisha, I think Aisha has a question, and I dropped a couple also in the chat box.
Okay.
Aisha, how are you doing? Gloria as well. Oh my gosh. This is an interesting session. So Aisha, please you go first.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Erica. This is my first time here, and I totally enjoyed the session. It was very insightful. Thank you. So I think I'm going to do a follow-up question to what Vera asked. So let's say I have a very detailed background about a particular client, and we're trying to ensure that they're partnering with my organization. But then I do not want to relate the details of how I got to know that, they have challenges with some of these things, and trying to, get a session with this client and ensure that my solution, which of course I know that will provide some a better model to what they're currently using, would solve all the issues they're having with their other financial institution. But the company I'm having the meeting with, they're not willing to come out to open up to all of their internal issues and challenges with their current payment solution. And I can't go ahead to share the details that, I know you currently need a solution and these are challenges you're having. My company can suffer it, even though during the conversation and all of the engagement, I've made it clear in my pitch and all of the things I'm trying to present to them that, this is what we can solve for in terms of the commercials, the sustainability of the product, the efficiency and all of that is way better. But there's still a bit of, they're trying to be more reserved, and we want to see if we have been able to provide the same solution to other players in their industry, which we haven't. But I'm very sure that my organization is very much capable of exploring this part if they give us the chance, and we can win big and make them more profitable. How do I break through with this scenario? Because it's now looking like, I don't want to pester too much, so they don't keep asking me how do I get so much information, because I have someone internally fintechs that they're using, and I know the frustrations that they're going through. And I also, don't want to come off as being desperate for them to use my own payment solution. But then I need to win the business. I need to ensure that they're using our solution and they're just trying to be very, very receptive with some of this information. They're not willing to share, and I don't want to let them know that I'm aware of it. So how do I break through and ensure that I do this? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was a loaded one. So wait, so is the key problem here is that, is this a current customer, Aisha? Or
All right, so this is a new business I'm trying to win over to my organization, but then a friend of mine work with the current previous solution that they're using, and I have all the details about them, and I understand their pain points.
okay,
And
so
we can solve for the pain point. We booked the meeting and they did not go ahead to share all the pain points with us. And I don't want to be called that, oh, I understand the pain points and we can solve it, because they're not going forward to give us details. So, just for privacy sake, I don't want to let them know that I understand what's going on. But then I still need to really let them know that we can solve issues.
okay, so it's wait, so it's a prospect that has a product that you know about and that has issues, but they don't want to tell you the issues with the product.
Yes, the
Okay.
product they're using, they have issues with it, but it's with another fintech organization, not mine. And we have the solution for them, and we are willing to help. But they're trying to be a bit rigid about sharing some of this information. Yeah, so we can assist.
Well, I mean, I guess the first thing I would say is, do they really have a problem with the product that they're using if they're not sharing it with you? So I guess how did you identify that they have a problem in the first place if they didn't tell you about it?
It's because I have details about it. Being able to work with someone that knows some of the things that they're using and the challenges. So I have all the clear details. But the issue is they have a commitment with the organization because I think they have fundings with them. And that is why they're trying to play safe. So, the relationship with the funding and all of that, they don't bridge it by using another payment solution. Of course, it's affecting their business model, but I can't tell them that, oh, I have all the details and made my finding and have the full information.
And you've pitched to them what your solution can actually solve for.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a prospect. If they don't see a problem, I guess I'm not sure or is it the right time for them? Because that's also something else that you have to consider. If it's not the right timing for them, if they're already in a product that they don't see a problem with, then I'm not sure if you can make them see that, right? Usually people who are looking for products or wanting to solve a problem.
Yeah,
So
and then
yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it sounds like you're trying to get them to convince them to buy from you and tell them that they have a problem. And if that's the case, I'm not sure if it's the right timing for your product to be.
Okay, I get it. We are currently on the next phase, and they have requested for other things for us to start with. And I'm looking at the better way of proposing this request and ensuring that it's more detailed to them. But I'm thinking, is it okay in the course of our other engagement and sessions to ask questions relating to something that could make them explain some internal details?
I mean, anything that's around privacy or that is in an NDA or anything that you're not supposed to be talking about, I wouldn't talk about. I would abide by that and respect that, because that ultimately can make you lose the customer forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Go ahead, Titi.
yeah, sometimes I know these things happen a lot with a lot of enterprise deals or basically B2B deals mostly. Sometimes what you think should be a buying motivation is actually not their buying motivation. All right, it's not their decision making, criteria. You might think you have an issue with your tech and you're losing money, but then that might not be priority to them when it comes to like management strategy. So sometimes that a company has a problem doesn't mean that an important problem to them. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's another thing as well. So you have to be in sync with their management strategy. Sometimes employees want to fix certain things and management don't think it's necessary. Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing
So
that
I
you
think
want.
this explanation gives me like a better light. Yes, yeah. I think we just explained it better. I think that's what's going on right now. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have Gloria.
Thank you. So I don't want to drag this further. Honestly, I think part of the question I wanted to ask is closely related to what Aisha already asked. I just wanted to find out how we can use storytelling to navigate a discovery call where a prospective partner is really hesitant to share their pain points. That was what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say, so how, I know we are on here 7:09, but I guess in the general scheme of things, how are you conducting your discovery calls, right? How long are your discovery calls? A discovery call in some instances only need to be maybe 15, 30 minutes,
30 minutes, yes.
right?
Yes.
So digging in to figure out what that customer is doing, you shouldn't be pitching, in my opinion, on a discovery call. It should be very little talk from you and a lot of talk from them, right? There should be a lot of questions being asked and then going back and researching what their responses were to figure out where your product fits in. So again, where are you struggling, Gloria, with, you said the question is around the discovery.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I think it's really closely related to what Aisha was trying to communicate, right? There are some, the thing with clients is there are different buckets of clients. And especially when you're dealing with the older generation, really, when you get to reach out to them, sometimes they just want you to come on and tell them what you have for them, right? They expect that you've gone on, you've done a lot of research about them, you probably have some sort of insider gist, for you to be able to get their contact or their connect, right? You must have something for them, right? So they're not as open as the younger generation who wants to also talk about their product. My experience, the younger people are excited to talk about what they're building, what they're solving for. And in that process, you're able to come in and say, oh, this is where I think we can come in or where we can fit in. But the older generation, they're more or less like, you know what, just come on here, tell us what you got for us and let's get on with it. Yeah. So
Right. But I actually agree with the older generation because they want to know how your product is going to solve their problem specifically. They don't want to hear about the general spiel. They don't want to hear about the general brand marketing, the commercial language that you would give to everybody.
Exactly.
They want to know that you specifically have researched them. You specifically know what their product problem is, and you're specifically talking to them. So that's why I do agree with some of the older folks, because they want to get you on the phone for 15 minutes. They will drill you in and be like, all right, what do you know about us? And what can you do for us? Right? Because ultimately, a lot of people are on the calls that you have being nice. They want you to talk and be nice, but also those two questions you have to answer on every single call. What do you know about me and what can you do?
Yes.
Right? So I think that, again, it goes back to research. Some of the stuff, like if you follow people on LinkedIn, you can feel or you can understand what they're writing about if they're on social media or they talk about products on social media. If you go to events and hear them speak, if you go, you don't need to be a stalker. So that's not what I'm saying. But if you get to know who your buyer is, you will understand them more to be able to have that 15-minute call and to make a real impact in those few minutes, right? But if you're just talking to a general industry, it most likely won't work.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Erica. This is really insightful. Thank you.
All right. TT, anything else? I can't see the chat for some reason.
Oh wow, okay. Just two more questions to go and then we close out.
Okay.
Number one is, how can storytelling help navigate complex or unequal power dynamics in partnerships? So say small company wants to partner with large company, situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you navigate this kind of situation?
Yeah, so I guess this question comes into play in many, many situations, right? Because either, like you said, a small company goes to a big company, or a big company actually sees potential in a smaller company, or they want the audience of a smaller company, right? So in situations where they may have all of the older generation, and now they want to come to a smaller company that is all about the youth, and they want to come after them to be able to partner and get their audience and so forth. Again, going back to what we talked about on the call, is the win-win side. So if you're the small organization going to the big company, what can you do for that company? It's the same thing. Think about you as an individual. If you're going to TP or you're going to somebody for consulting or help, it's like, yes, you want them to help you, but how can you help them? Right? Even if it's something small, or even if it's something that your product or service can do. So if that's small business, let's take CRM again, right? And talk about CRMs. If I'm a small CRM company holder and the bigger company is, they got millions of customers, but my CRM can do something for them, or they can use part of my tools for free while they help me do what I need to do to reach my audience, or whatever I'm trying to get out of them. What is that win-win for both sides? That's how you end up coming to it. It doesn't necessarily always have to be monetary money. Right? It could be a service that you can actually provide to them, something that you can actually give to them, an audience that you can unlock for them. If you have a great following, like Vicky James, right? Maybe I can do a partnership with you to post, and you do X, Y, and Z for me, right? So you have to think outside the box with some of this stuff, but really lean into what your benefits are and what you can provide people to be able to present that to them, and prove why they should give you what you want. Does that help, TT?
Yeah. And I hope that's helpful for anybody in a similar situation right now on the call. Now, the last question that we have here is, how can smaller companies craft powerful narratives when they lack resources or history of a larger company?
Yeah.
So let's say when you don't have the resources, you don't have history, but then you want to craft a really powerful story that gives you a very good entrance.
Yeah, I do think, so let's say you're a company, you actually have to have, in my opinion, a little bit of traction. So even if you have 4 customers, right? And maybe it's like, let's say consulting work, right? You did 4 different consulting jobs, small jobs for people in your network or something like that. Getting those testimonials still means something. Tying it to those brands that you're working with those 4 people means something. So you still need to be able to tell a story. If you don't have any customers, right, then I guess you're still telling the general story for now, right? And you can put it in a manner to where, what you project to prove, what you project your results will be, without exaggeration, because I do see new products coming on the market saying that they can solve for X, Y, and Z, and it's not believable yet because the actual products that are on the market can't even do what the new product is saying, and they don't have the infrastructure and the resources as well. So I do think that if you want to start small, and let's say, again, going back to no customers, get some pilot customers, convince some people. I know, and I have seen definitely some of the Nigerian brands go out and do pilots, and then they get those testimonials and those customer success stories, and they're able to prove their point in the market and go and actually sell bigger deals.
Thank you so much, Erica, for all of these answers. And I do hope that everyone here has learned so much. If you want to connect with Erica after this call, here's our LinkedIn, profile link in the chat. She also has that on a slide. And if you do want to send an email, shoot an email. That's our email address right there. If you want access to recording to this, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, so that everyone is able to learn. So some people are just trying to get home from work and then settling in the house. So We're going to be posting this on YouTube and also putting it in the Slack channel as well. And if you're new here, we do this every month. And then I've dropped the link to the Slack channel here on the chat. This has been a pleasure, Erica. Thank you so much for making it, despite the day you had.
Thank you. And I'm also in the actual Slack channel. So if you want to add me over there, you can as well.
Yeah, guys, that's it. See, so that's what we do. Bring you power people, OGs in the industry globally, right? And then bring them just to your doorstep. See, what's so all about your success and your career journey. Thank you so much, Erica.
Yeah, I truly appreciate everybody's time and the engagement that we had, and hopefully this helps you with your storytelling journey. I'll probably be having some more tidbits that I can post about. I can answer any questions over in the Slack channel. And then TT, hopefully I'll be in Nigeria to where maybe we can have an in-person session as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Amazing.
Thank you. And that's it, guys.
Thank you today.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Yeah, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.